Good evening, witches, warlocks, sorcerers, adepts, friends, fans, family, and followers to Season 1, Episode 8 of Cuniculum Obscuritatis, the Obscure Tunnels, or Tunnels of Obscurity, brought to you by Celestial Oddities Radio and the Coterie of Samil Arcane Occult Order. As always, I am your host, Frater Crow.
And I am your co-host, Natasha Michelle. Please click all the buttons, like, share, follow, and check us out on all the different streaming stations in order to move us up the podcast rankings and get it out to people.
Absolutely. If you've caught our last episodes, you know what the show is about. If you have not and you are new, welcome. We appreciate it. This is a show teaching you the theory and practice of diabolism, necromancy, and left-hand path mysticism as the Coterie of Samil teaches. And we teach you this from the ground up, where we are teaching you holistic practices. We are teaching you meditation. We are teaching you breathing, clearing, cleansing, banishing. We are teaching you the formulas of magic, the mechanics of magic, and over time we'll continue to do so in a way that'll teach you the higher aspects of magic from the starting aspects of magic. So, stick around. As Natasha said, click all the buttons. It helps us out. We appreciate it. It allows more people to discover the show and keeps you in the loop with new episodes as they air, as well as unfiltered access to our past archives of shows, Uncovering the Underground, Knights of the Nephilim, Pair of Normal Guys podcast, Last Caw, and everything in between. We have a lot of underground content that comes out of Celestial Oddities Radio. Several of those shows are associated with the Coterie, such as Knights of the Nephilim and this one here. And there's just a little bit of something for everybody. Paranormal, underground entertainment, wild and crazy stories, interviews of all sorts, and teaching. So we hope you enjoy that. Tonight's episode originally was going to be about the importance of astral temples and how it is pivotal to your practice to be able to have a starting ground to launch from in magic and ritual, and to have a safe place to return to. I can't stress
The new word.
The importance of having an astral temple and of building that heavily in your practice. But tonight we are not going to be talking about that. Natasha and I had the sudden passing of a friend, not only a friend, but a team member on our paranormal team, someone who's been associated with us in many different capacities. And with that, we thought we would switch it up a little bit. We are still in a heavy stage of grief, and we thought that this would be a good episode to talk about how to process grief, how to process loss. And on top of that, we wanted to also tell stories about our friend and to reminisce about him as a way of making this episode a tribute to him, as a way of honoring the dead, not only our friends and past ones, but all of yours out there. So I would like to do something unique with this episode. And if you are comfortable with it, and only if you are comfortable with it, sometime throughout the episode, feel free to put RIP and put any of your friends or loved ones that have passed that you would like to honor. I won't be able to read them off because I'm sure a lot of the names and things will be hard for me to do, and there might just end up being a lot of them. I will throw them up on the screen as long as you feel comfortable doing that, and we will honor all of your loved ones that are watching live that have passed, at least all the ones you list, because like for myself, I would never be able to list them all. There's just been too many. But we thought that would be something special tonight, to honor everyone that's listening in's loved ones, to tell stories of our friend and honor him, and to talk about how to process in the right way the grief you feel upon loss, because it can take many different forms and hit us very differently and cause a lot of different reactions. And if we're not mindful of that, if we do not process that feeling, that emotion in the right way, it can get out of hand and cause very adverse effects to our lives. So that is something we'll definitely jump into. Now, as any episode, if you are familiar with our show, if you are familiar with the Coterie of Samil, we started off with our prayer. So we will say, in the name of Samael, Cain, and Lilith, we call out to you, O Lord, Nakashal, our Savior and Father. Let us continue to be unbendable, unbreakable pillars of the eternal infernal black flame. Soldiers and emissaries of the black light of divinity, you who is the true God existing in the void place of chaos before the creation of the cosmos, which gave form to force, bringing only suffering and death. Blanketed with the illusion of what the Claiborne call living, encased in fragile flesh, falling victims to their own debased hungers, the cattle stand in their own prisons, singing songs of freedom. The blind bastard sons and daughters, bowing to their blind bastard God. Let us never be mistaken for their ilk. Let us serve you diligently and with honor, and let our knees not falter, and allow our minds to remain sharp and clear, for the battles and wars we shall wage in your name. Life after life we march to your drum, until we have won and all is returned back to silence. We are the beacons of hope and the lighthouses of knowledge. No matter the darkness, our wisdom will shine, for we are the messengers and we are the crows. Our cause will be heard to the ending of time. We are the sons and daughters of darkness. The Natasha is with us, and we shall not fear.
We'd like to follow that, as always, with the mission statement for the Coterie of Samil. The following is the mission statement of the cult being collective understanding of lost teachings. Number 1, to honor, praise, and uphold the work of our other God, the Natasha. Number 2, to honor, praise, and know the Clothotic Elohim, working alongside them to gain gnosis and shape the currents of our own lives. Number 3, the intense and continuous study and practice of diabolism, necromancy, and left-hand path mysticism. Number 4, work completed both in and out of the temple, individually and as a cult, towards a return to Ein and spiritual immortality in nothingness. Number 5, to reside in a physical manifestation that while it may be incarnated in a prison, it is a prison crafted to our standards and our desires. Number 6, to uphold the authority and integrity of one's own moral code while remaining a wolf in a world filled with sheep. Number 7, to openly shine and fan our own black flames, giving the opportunity and inspiration for those so inclined to recognize and feed their own. Number 8, to burn as torches in the darkness so that those worthy may be guided by them, finding their inner strength and embodying what it means to rise to their own power. And number 9, not to obtain or draw in followers, but to encourage mysticism, free thought, dedication, breaking of chains, and questioning everything, including us.
You heard it, folks. That is our prayer to start the evening. That is our list of tenets and mission statement for the Coterie of Samil. If that resonates with you, take what resonates and discard the rest. If it doesn't, that is okay. Not everything will. So, as we said, we lost a close friend recently, and it has been very difficult, to say the least. Tomorrow is his viewing, Saturday his funeral, and we will be saying goodbye to him as we knew him here in this life. And while that is very difficult, it is a stage of life that all of us will go through in one way or another. Every one of us will die. There is no way around it, folks. Everyone that you have ever met, everyone that you know, everyone that you ever will know will die. It's the only certainty we have. And it's frightening, I understand that. It's painful, I understand that, but it is a certainty nonetheless. So how do we deal with this? How do we cope with that void, that emptiness left in us when someone so close to us leaves us? Oftentimes it can manifest itself in depression. Often it can manifest itself in anger against the world and anger against your gods. It can manifest itself in suicidal thoughts or tendencies. It can manifest itself in a barrage of different ways, none of which are helpful to you. It's easy to want to place blame on someone or something. And sure, there are cases where someone dies and it is someone's fault. And that is a different circumstance where if someone killed someone, you could blame them. But in the case where someone dies suddenly or someone dies unexpected or naturally, it's okay to want to blame someone, but you have to understand it is a process of life. None of us choose necessarily when we get to go in most circumstances. And all of us will go there at different times or another. It isn't up to us to say when that person should have went. So when that emotion starts to hit you and you start to have to process that, how do you find outlets? How do you find ways to let that out so that it doesn't build inside you? Because that sadness, that sorrow, that anger will form a monster inside of you that will live there. And if you don't deal with it immediately, it will linger. Grief is a very strange thing because even when you try to deal with it sometimes, it doesn't hit you. I want every one of my listeners out there right now to think of a time that someone close to you died, that you didn't cry right away, that you didn't experience it right away. It was so raw to you, it was so powerful, but yet you couldn't let it out. No tears were shed, no breakdown was had. And then it hits you later on. If you felt that, drop a comment and let me know that you felt it down the road. Whether that be a couple days, whether that be a couple hours, whether that be a couple weeks or a couple years. A personal experience that I can, attest to is that 2021, I had lost 7 or 8 family members in a matter of 6 months. Unfathomable to most people that have heard that. They say, wow, I can't even understand what that would be like. And I never wish that upon any of you. But it was before I could process any one of those people, another person had passed. And then another, and then another, and then another. And my mind couldn't accept it. And while I was in sadness and while I have been trained to deal with these type of emotions, it still hits you. And I wasn't able to process them properly because there was just too many. And I noticed there was odd times later down the road, not in 2021, not even in 2022, but some of them in 2023, 2024, where moments would just hit me. And I don't just mean you think about your loved one and you're reminiscing and you're sad. That's normal. I'm talking about a moment happening and just having an utter breakdown like it just happened right then and there, and just losing it and saying, what the fuck was that? And realizing you were holding back an emotion that was then just tucked away until you ripped open that scab and the wound was revealed and it hit the air again, and then you re-felt the wound. And if you've ever felt that, please, drop a comment and let us know, because we would love to hear from you. Natasha, I would like to get your perspective on some of this, on what we are speaking of. But before we do so, I do want to drop into some of these comments. We do have Trevor saying good evening. Stacy Tyndall saying alien head. Trevor had put some different rest in pieces here, so these are to his loved ones. Rest in peace to each and every one of you. Excuse me, and much love to you all. As I said, for those, every one of you tuning in, like I said, feel free to drop your loved ones if you feel comfortable. We will make sure we give them a shout out. Yeah, I think, Trevor, for a lot of us, that is how it happens. Now, I think part of that can be faced by dealing with it right up front, making yourself deal with it, which is healthy. But there's still going to be times where it's tucked away and you experience it later on, nonetheless, no matter what you do. And that's very hard. Your grandfather and mother died 2 days apart. That's something that's hard to deal with. You really can't process either of them properly because you're jumping back and forth from your emotions to each, your dedication, your allegiance to each, your love. So, Natasha, what are your thoughts on methods? And I'll be happy to chime in afterwards. What are your thoughts on methods to try to properly face grief in these circumstances?
I think that a lot of times when people are faced with grief, especially unexpected grief, and faced with loss and everything, there is that freeze that you're talking about. And a lot of times with that freeze, we have the stages, right? So it's denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance. We have stages that we go through. So when you're in the midst of trying to process those, a lot of times we put up walls to the emotions so that we don't have to feel them, because if you're not feeling those emotions, then it's not a reality. It's why a lot of times when people go through trauma, they then can't deal with processing the emotions of that trauma, because if you process those emotions, it brings it into your reality, into your center, right? And it brings it into your body, physically. And I think that when it comes to grief, you were talking about outlets, and I'm really big on that, on having outlets, because I think that in order to process it, you have to get physical with it. You have to have a physical response and a physical reaction and outlet. So the tears are one thing. You know, we always say, like, cry, let the response out. This is cathartic. This is healing. This is a release. If you're not releasing it, you're going to be pushing it back down. It's going to be worse moving forward. But like, we don't always talk about the other responses, like the anger, because the anger is there. Like, sometimes maybe you need to go, you know, smash the shit out of something, or like scream, or allow yourself to feel that anger too. And I think that in our society, especially, there's like all the different like checkpoints that you're supposed to go to. You know, you go to all of the viewings and the funerals and the steps, and you make all the arrangements, and then like it's done, and it's supposed to be done. And that's not the case. And I don't think that society as a whole does very well with that. It's kind of like, okay, this happened, now move forward. And unless you really allow yourself to experience it, like we always talk about the different levels, unless you allow yourself to experience it on literally every level, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you're not going to be able to fully process the loss, or what you've gone through, or what that has changed in your life or affected your life. And then time. I think that, you know, like I was saying, they want you to move on. They want you to get on with your life, but it does take time, and it can hit you, like you were saying, way later at unexpected moments. Something just trigger that. And I think that it's important that in those moments, like, you're being triggered into that grief for a reason in those moments. So in those moments, it's really important to hold space for it and accept it and allow it. And I think that it's very appropriate that, you know, we're having this conversation tonight, actually, because tonight is Beltane, and everybody thinks about Beltane as fire and passion and lust and sex and creativity and all of this stuff, which it absolutely is, you know, union. But Beltane is also on the same like half from Samhain. So this is the other part of the year when the veil is dropped, when the spirits are close. And so I think that it's really the perfect night, aside from Samhain, that we could be doing, you know, speaking about people that have been lost and having remembrance for those past in the comments. So I just wanted to note that.
No, and I think you said it. A very important thing, guys, listening out there, is when those moments hit, don't stifle them. Don't block them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say you've gone 2 years, for example, without facing it, and then it hits you 2 years later, it might seem strange to you. It might seem very out of place. But the worst thing you could do is then shove it back down and say, no, 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 I don't want to experience this. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to face it. Just like any trauma, you have to face it, or else it will destroy you. And if it comes out, even at an inopportune time, which will bring me to my next statement here in a moment, you have to let it out. One thing I know, and I'll speak for guys specifically, there's this stigma in our culture that guys must remain strong. Guys must remain tough. Guys are not allowed to show emotions. Guys are not allowed to cry. And the problem with that is whether it is the initial feeling of loss that you have from a loved one or friend passing, or it hits you years later, you are trained and programmed to believe that if you mourn for your loved one, that you're a pussy. And there's some people say, oh, I don't know, I don't feel like that. Well, you may not, and that's great. You shouldn't. But for every one of you that don't feel like that, there's 40 that do. And that is the problem with our culture. You can't even cry over your own fucking mother or father or friend or sister or brother or whoever that has passed away, because if you do that, you're a pussy then. You're weak. You're not strong enough. Why are you crying? It's pussy emotion to cry. Or if it hits you in that inopportune time, it might be while you're with your friends. It might be sitting in a public place. It might be sitting at the train station or at the airport. It might be sitting in class. It might be wherever. And God forbid you let those emotions, oh no, I got to stay tough. I can't let people. Who the fuck cares? Do you care about these people? And maybe some of you do. Maybe you care so much about other people's opinions. But what's very strange is you'll find people that say, I don't fucking care about anyone's thoughts of me. I don't give a shit about them. But then tears start falling from your eyes, and all of a sudden, I can't cry in front of them. Why not? Because they'll think about, I thought you didn't care what they thought about you. Well, I don't. Yes, you do. So why? Why do you care? Because they don't matter. You're processing something that's going to help your life. By processing that grief, by processing that loss, you will be able to move on more efficiently in your life and adapt and live a better life than to have that repressed feeling and to have that weight dragging you down. So why stunt that by a programmed illusion that our culture, our fucking culture, puts on you? Or the fear of what others will think that aren't a part of your life.
And I think that's a really, really important point, especially for the men that might be watching, tonight, because I can't tell you over the last 5 years how many, men that I've worked with and stuff, that it's not even that they are afraid to show it all the time or afraid to show the emotion or whatever. They don't know how to. Their body has repressed showing that emotion so much that identifying the emotion and then having some sort of physical emotive response to it is so foreign and so shoved down, so controlled, that it takes work on top of work to be able to get to that point where that emotion can be expressed. And that's why, I was saying before, with the body and stuff and energy, things like somatic movement and breath work and energy work and stuff like that are so important, because it can dislodge some of what the mental programming has blocked. So you could be doing these somatic movements, not consciously thinking oh, maybe opening my hip this way is going to do something, but it's it bypasses that cultural block that's been put on you and allows that freedom for the emotions. And then you're oh shit, this is what this feels like. Okay. So I don't know. That's side note, I guess.
No, I think that's very important. I mean, one process I would add to that is I'm very big, and you guys have heard me talk about it before, on ice plunges or ice baths. I'm very big on it in just your regular practice and in a lot of different reasons in life. But another way that you can learn to deal with your emotions is personal space, is personal time. Maybe your mornings are busy with the kids and wife or the job. Maybe your husband, whatever spouse you have. Maybe it's busy with that. Maybe it's busy with class. Maybe it's busy with work. Whatever it might be, and throughout your day, you're just go, 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 go. But if you can find that 10 minutes for you, that 10 minutes where no one bothers you, no one talks to you, you can put on the headphones and play music, or put on the headphones and play some type of binaural beat or some type of meditative guiding music. You can close your eyes, plunge down inside the ice tub. As that ice hits your body, you take such a deep breath and let out. And as you take multiple deep breaths in the nose and out the mouth, you're letting so much tension, so much buildup go. And that is a time to clear your mind of work and family and those other things. And maybe that's a time to face the feelings, the unspoken words, the pain, the sorrow, those moments with your friend or family that you never had to, reconcile on. And as you're breathing in and letting out, the water numbs your body. It takes your mind to another place that I can't describe. It's beautiful. It's truly such a deep meditative state. But you can reflect on specific items. And that is a way that as you're breathing in and letting out, you're letting out that tension. You are tearing down those barriers and walls to what you haven't faced. And you might find yourself just bawling in that ice tub. And you know what, motherfucker? That's okay. Because there's times, and it had nothing to do with friends or family or past loved ones, that I just reflected deeply on things in life and breathed in and breathed out during ice baths and just found myself weeping. And you know what? Once again, guys, I don't care. There's people out there that probably don't like me that watch this show to try to find some in on me, and they're probably, oh, this guy fucking cried. He just admitted, yes, I did, because I don't give a shit. Blow me. You know, like I'm fine with the fact of being able to say I sat there and wept in the ice plunge bath on multiple occasions, and you know what? It's made me stronger, and it can help you and release that energy, and it needs to be released. Like I said, it will haunt you. And I want to get to some of these comments before we continue so we don't lose any of them. Stacy said, when my great aunt Ruby Klein passed away, it was so fast, so sudden, and I never really cried. I was the one being strong for everyone else in the family. And see, the thing is, that's honorable, but it's also dishonorable to you. It's okay to take care of everybody else, but once again, it is a must that you take 10 minutes a day, every day, to process your feelings. We get so lost in wanting to cater and help others that we don't take care of ourselves. And by doing so, we degrade, we belittle, and I don't mean in this regular sense of that, we whittle down ourselves. So then that person taking care of everyone else isn't taking care of everyone else efficiently, because you are not operating at optimum level. You are now a shell of yourself trying to take care of everybody else. So now you've done everyone a disservice. Whereas if you can learn to take care of yourself properly, you can still take care of everybody else, but now you're doing so at an optimum level with 100% capacity. And now everyone's being able to be handled. And a lot of times that's overlooked. So it's honorable, but it can't continue, in those cases. Casey said, when my brother died, I was in shock and drove to work. I made it through the day. I made it through the funeral. It was 2 weeks later that I went to his grave and screamed. Some poor woman was walking through the cemetery at that moment. It was after that I actually was able to cry. And that's okay. She might not have understood, but once again, maybe she did. And even if she didn't, it wasn't for her. It was for you. And you needed it. It doesn't matter. She still to this day tells story of the crazy woman who screamed in the graveyard. Because as long as it was healing to you, that is all that matters. You don't remember her face.
It was the breaking wave sometimes, that scream, that like you have to have something that breaks so that the rest of it can flood out. You needed that scream.
Agreed. Stacy Tyndall says, rest in peace, Steve Daniels. Thank you for drums, and thank you for your drums, and thank you for showing so many of us how to just be ourselves. Love you, man. We have Trevor said, it took probably 7 years to fully process my mother's death, but I still have times, sorry guys, I'm losing my voice, where a memory pops up and stops me in my tracks. And that's okay, because that will still happen to all of us, where there's just moments or you pick up something that reminds you of them and it just like hits you. But there's a difference, and you'll notice it if you've experienced both of it. There's a difference between the reminiscent breakdowns and the repressed breakdowns. Very different in aura, very different in feeling. And the one's okay. They're both okay in their own right. They need to be faced, but the one is common and should happen for everybody. The other one is the result of when we haven't commonly dealt with it properly. And like I said, it's going to all hit us all differently. We can't just say, oh, well, I'm able to just face it day one and I'm fine. No, it's still always going to happen. But I know so many people that just refuse to believe. I refuse to believe they're dead. Well, that's okay, but it's not, because they're gone. They're not coming back. It's sad. It's horrible. But denying it and acting like it didn't happen isn't going to help anyone, because it did happen. Stacey says, even being a woman who has learned or leaned more into the masculine side most of my life, it's so hard to cry over any loss, but I feel the emotions caught in my throat every time. Then you have to breathe. The thing is, people don't breathe. It sounds so weird, but we talk about it often, that people just don't breathe. So like right there, when it's caught in your throat, right? When you're feeling it, you're like, oh, fuck, like I'm so distraught right now. You're thinking of all these emotions and all this stuff, and it's all crazy. It's all crazy. Shh. Shh. Just sit. Close your eyes. Deep chest breathing through your nose. Deep. I want you to, when you take a deep enough breath, you feel your spine change, right? As you feel up, your back actually straightens out, and your chest puffs out. When you do that, and then fully, and you need to take those deep breaths. It sounds silly. Well, how's that going to help? Trust me. Just do it. Those deep breaths and deep in and out, it courses through your whole body. Your blood starts to flow more efficiently. Your organs start to work more efficiently. Your mind starts to work more efficiently. Your processing of emotions starts to work more efficiently. And this goes back to episode 2, guys, the 4 principles of holistic healing. And it goes back to, by breathing properly, you're taking care of your body. By breathing properly, you are helping to release and clear your emotions. By breathing properly, you are aligning your intellect and intelligence to be able to think clear. And it's goddamn well known, by breathing properly, you can tap into spirits better and to your own spirituality and inner self better. It always comes back to those 4 principles.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in. I talked quite a bit.
No, I think that the breath is very underrated. I would even say that I did not give it enough credit until maybe like the past, I don't know, like 8 years or so. And I only gained more with it. But I was laughing while you were talking about it, because sometimes when I get like in deep ritual, like deep trance states or whatever, and I'm having communication with an entity, with a spirit, I can't make my mouth move, right? I can't say the words. I can't express the words. It's all happening in my head. But I will note that I do this like, and and then there'll be a couple more moments, and there's this whole conversation, and again, it's just these deep exhale breathing. And people that are unable to handle like stress sometimes, or like their cortisol levels are higher, like they're overwhelmed, ADHD a lot too, you will find them doing that like regularly. I do it throughout life, where you just sigh, and the person next to you is going to be like, what? Like, what's wrong? What do you mean? It was nothing. So the breath is it's very, very crucial to pay attention to. And you should pay attention to how you're breathing, even randomly. Like, are you breathing? Why were you like holding your breath there? Why were you letting out that exhale there? And it's going to lead you kind of on this path back to your emotional state at the time. So
Absolutely. And I do want to say, I'm sorry for so I was about to announce an error tonight. I was about to announce that my Facebook's finally working and it's connected. And it is working in some capacities, but I'm still seeing a slew of comments that are just not showing up. I don't understand why.
So annoying.
I don't get it. It just stopped one day and just won't come back. I've fucked with it more than I can even express, and it's still not working. So some of the comments coming in, we have Dustin saying, hey, Frater, I feel that, especially as a father. There's been many, many times that I've swallowed it and pushed it down. I used to do that a lot, but I haven't in a long time. I've also done that during meditation, which he's talking about the breathing. Absolutely, Dustin. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, don't let your kids see you cry, right? You don't want them to think you're weak, but that's okay. Because the problem is we repeat cycles of toxicity. And if we believe, maybe we were even taught by our fathers, you can't cry, then we don't cry in front of our children, then they believe that they can't cry, and then they won't cry in front of theirs. And you continue a cycle of toxicity. It should be okay to say, hey, you know what? We don't cry over nothing. We don't cry over spilt milk, as the saying goes. But when we lose a loved one, when we're going through a lot, we cry. And son, daughter, it's okay to cry. It's okay to let those emotions out when you need to. It is healing. I guarantee you, if you're the father that teaches your kids it's okay to cry and teaches them when it's okay to, but not to whine or cry over, as we said, spilt milk, for example, they're going to become so much more adapted to life and grow so much better and stronger than the father who never does and teaches them to be fucking strong. You buckle up, little man, and be a soldier. Yeah, well, little soldier grows up to be a fuck up like dad was. And it happens a lot. And that's unfortunate because we repeat those cycles. Hey, Sue, thank you for tuning in. Sorry, I'm not seeing your comment except on my phone. Much love. Thank you for tuning in. We have Emily said, "Good evening, guys. I didn't mourn my grandmother's passing until a couple weeks to a month after the fact. So sorry for the both of your loss." Thank you, Emily. And like I said, that does happen a lot. The thing is, couple days, couple weeks, couple months is okay. It is whenever it is years later that you know you fucked up. Like I said, for me, that experience, normally it always hit pretty much because I always do exercises to process it right away. That's the difference. Just not doing something about it isn't healing. Healing takes work. That's the biggest thing. What is the magical recipe to heal? Work. People, that four-letter word that makes people cringe, right? Like, how do I heal? Work. Ooh, I don't like that. Well, then suffer. You know what I mean? Like, work is the medicine. It's the magical pill that gets you where you need to be. And anything that's worth anything in life, anything that's worth its salt, as they say, is going to be work behind it. And healing is certainly that. So when you're experiencing something, you have to work to heal. And when it's years later, like for me, when I lost 7 or 8 people in a matter of 6 months, I tried to process it. I just couldn't. It was one of those circumstances, which was kind of rare, that there was just no being able to process that much loss. There wasn't things I could have done more to help me with that, but it just was one of those anomalies. But I always try to take time. It's something Natasha and I will eventually talk about more publicly and might offer more publicly is rights to help your loved ones, because there's a couple sides to that. There's not only you healing and dealing with that, but there's also the spiritual maintenance of your loved one when they pass. And it doesn't matter what their spiritual belief was. Our friend Tom was a Christian. Our friend Tom is going to have a Christian burial. That is fine. I don't mind that. Am I a Christian? Absolutely not. But do I mind that he is? Absolutely not. Everyone has their own faith, their own spirituality, their own way of seeing the world and dealing with spirit. Now, I can say that in 2 different ways. I can say that as a friend and as someone who has, Christian friends and people around me. Now, if you flip it on the opposite end, my true faith and base, do I agree with Christian? No, I don't. But that's okay for someone else to have a different belief set. And are we still going to do workings to make sure that Tom is healed of any past attachments that he might have here that would hold him here, that are not helping, that'll help him find his way to where he needs to go and to fly free? Absolutely. And that can be any faith base, any family member, any friend. And we take it very seriously. This isn't a money grab. As you know, I don't ever offer services to anybody. This is something we will eventually start to offer and talk more about, where we will take days on end, workings on end, to specifically work with your loved ones, for those that are close to our circle. We're not going to offer this to everybody in the world, but to be able to help your loved one find their way to the next life so that they're not trapped here. Because, folks, there is a bubble here. And if you don't break through on your own and you don't have some assistance to break through, you will be cast back in, or you won't leave your ego. And your ghost, which is what ghosts are, is that shattered fractal of yourself. They're going to continue here, and they're going to float around, and they're going to be stuck here, and they're going to believe they're still alive, and they're going to be in pain. That's why we've talked about it when you're at investigations. That's why you get a lot of spirits to say, "Help me, please, help." Make all these, because they're fucking stuck, because they didn't get the right proper work done to make them dissipate. Yeah. Sure, making them dissipate sounds sad, because if you make them dissolve and they're gone, they're gone. But yeah, they're supposed to be gone. They're gone now. We don't. It's nice to say, "I want my loved one still here." Do you? Is it selfish? It might be, in a way. I understand where you're coming from to want your loved one here, but if you're wanting that loved one so strongly that it's trapping them here, and now they can't get out and they're fucking trapped, is that fair? I don't know. So we're going to offer that working coming up at some point in the future. Stay tuned on that. I want to go back a little bit and read Urali's comment. She said, Yes, my grandma, she was my best friend and like a mother to me. My aunt died 4 months later. They died in 2018, and it wasn't until I visited the family grave in 2023 and returned home and was hit hard with grief. I have never felt such sorrow and sadness. Hold on a second, my computer's being weird. Oh, there we go. Like my soul shattered. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was so freaked out. Sadly, after she died, 6 more family members died. I have still yet to really process them fully. I'm so sorry you lost so many people you loved in such a short period. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm sorry for your losses as well. Um, I think you need to take the time, Ureli, to try to sit sometime and face that. Because once
Yeah.
again, it is so easy to want to talk to spirits, other spirits, deities and such. It's okay to do your rituals. It's okay to want to do all these things to help grow your life, to help become more successful in your job or more successful financially, more successful in love, more successful in power, to be more successful in spiritual communication. All of those things, right? That's what magic is, where we're learning ourselves, we're learning the world, we're learning how to strengthen all the attributes of this life. But how often do we take the time to sit and talk to ourselves? Take the time to sit and talk to our ancestors or our past family members and friends. Now, if you have an ancestral veneration practice, absolutely, you're already doing that. But how many people do? And how many people are actually doing the work? And that's the problem. A lot aren't. And that is a wound that will fester and it will kill you. It'll fucking become toxicified over the years. And you think that what looks like it's healed because you have a scar, you look and say, well, I have a scar, it's good, my skin is healed. It's poison under the flesh, poisoning your bloodstream. And 10 years later, it hits. And you become ill and you don't know why. We become ill by the things that we don't face.
I was just going to say that is, circular. That takes all trauma, all blows, all of that into account, because that is the issue. And that energetically, we've talked about this before, anything that is going to make your body ill starts on an energetic level and comes inward. So you have to face it for everything.
You do, and I want to make a comment here. Trevor sent a comment that is interesting because I was taught the phrase that time will heal all wounds. No, that is false. Time will cover all wounds. And like a shallow dug grave, it's only a matter of time before the bones reach the surface. So you can bury it, and you can bury it deep. A lot of times with those rains and winds and those chaos moments of life and things as you grow and things change, they slowly start to find their way to the surface. And eventually they'll poke through.
I think that... Are you still looking for them?
No, you go ahead. I want to see if there's any of them we're missing.
Well, I was just, we talk about what we will be offering, but it makes me... Well, I was thinking earlier about the anger and wanting to place blame and wanting to have somewhere to put that. And I think that one of the biggest turning points for me with death, with coming to terms with death, with having a better understanding with death, with actually starting a real relationship with death, was when I lost a friend of mine in 2020. And I remember coming home from the ocean, finding out how bad the situation was, actually talking to him and everything. And then every night I was at the crossroads. Every night I was asking Hecate to do something. I was leaving offerings. I was on my knees. I was crying. I was yelling. I was begging and pleading. And then he died after a week of, leaving the offerings. And I think some of the biggest betrayal I had ever felt in my life. Like, I'm supposed to be a witch. I'm supposed to be a practitioner. I'm supposed to work with, powerful spirits. I'm supposed to work with this chthonic goddess that I have been dedicating myself to. and she let him go. And it took, for me, the grief hit by coming and expressing the anger to her. And I think a lot of times you go one of two ways when you have a faith and then you have a loss. You either are able to increase your faith and everything happens for a reason and this is a cycle, this is the plan, etc., or you completely like just get angry at it and now it is the direction of your anger. And I don't fully remember. I would have to look through grimoires to see what the actual conversation was, but the point was you have to understand like the cycles and you are going to have to understand how this works. Like you can't think that life is all there is, was pretty much what she said. And you're not in charge of it.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
This is only one level, folks, and it's so easy to get tied up in it because it's the only one you know. So when you say I lost my loved one and they're gone, yes,
Yeah.
they are. But you're assuming that you're never going to see them again. You're never going to be with them again. And you're also kind of making an assumption just by saying that this is all there is. And let me tell you, this is not all there is. This is kind of the sludge of what there is, to be honest with you. And it's wild to say that.
Tiny part.
What's that?
It's the tiny part of what there is.
It's just the tiny part of what there is. You have existed before the flesh and will exist again after the flesh in many different facets of channels and ways. There are many different dimensional stacked layers and planes that we live on. We live in multiple at one time. Right now, you're in multiple of them at the one time. And if you put them all together in a sandwich, that's what this is. So it's so easy to be like, well, I'm here. Or this is me. This is like 7 of you right now smushed together in one you. One part of that dies. The other ones still exist in different capacities. But because we are wiped clean with the amnesia of flesh, and when we come here, you don't know that. So you hold so tightly to this and say, well, there's nothing else, or maybe there is, but I don't know. And it's so scary not to know. You're not supposed to know. But you can't form judgments off of everything else that's going to be after by just what's here now. And as Natasha said, what happens a lot is people will blame their God. A lot of times it's God. You know, they don't have like a cool name or anything. It's called God. So they'll blame God. How dare you, God? So the problem is you're putting too much stock in it because God probably doesn't give a shit about you. Let's just be honest with that. I mean, there's fucking 7 billion people on the planet. You think he gives a shit about every one of us? I doubt it. I mean, even if he had the capacity to pay attention to all 7 billion of us and wanted to care, there's a lot of people that are just shitheads and they don't deserve love. And I'll be saying that everybody deserves love. No, they don't. So, you know, so.
When I just processed that.
What's that?
I wasn't processing the sentence and then it like hit me.
That's okay.
I was
so,
like, oh, okay, he went there.
That doesn't mean that God can't intervene or your magic or your workings can't intervene. I will be the first to tell you, and there's other people that are in our circle that will be able to tell you. I have done workings on people that should be dead right now that are alive and thriving.
So
I've seen people get healed miraculously. Yes. I have done work on people who are no longer here. Take that whichever way you want to. I have done workings to try to keep people here that are no longer here, and it didn't work. Now, you could say it's just by chance that the ones that lived, you're thinking you really did something, and the ones that died, you failed, right? Well, that's awfully high of you. Maybe it is. But no, there's been things I've seen that I know my magic works, but sometimes your magic just isn't meant to work in certain circumstances. Yeah. Your prayers aren't meant to work. For some reason, that person's time came.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, it was their time. Yeah. We don't always understand it. A lot of times we don't understand it. With our buddy that just passed the other night, we don't understand it. He was too young. Up until a couple years ago, he was great. He had a few things that happened, but never should have brought this downfall. But it did. We don't understand it, but it isn't ours to understand. And we have to accept it. We can't run from it. We can't deny it. We can't hide from it. We must face it head on, process it, work through it, shed tears to heal through it, and never forget him, which is one of the biggest parts. Don't ever forget your loved ones. I was telling someone the other day that it was actually Tom's son. He was a part of our group back in the day when I formed my first group. I'm very fond of Luke. And he said about his daughter, he's like, I just can't imagine my daughter's not going to get to know her pap, and she loved him so much. And I says, that is when you, once again, work. It's always about work, right? You have to put in the extra hours now, Luke. I said, it is time to make sure you continuously show her his picture. You continuously talk about him from time to time. You tell stories about him. That even as she gets older, she might not clearly remember herself those memories because she was too young. But they will never forget Pappy or Pap or whatever they call their grandfather. My daughter only got to meet my father-in-law twice before he passed. And God, was he a great grandfather. And my son had these memories of his grandfather. But my daughter didn't get to. He passed very suddenly. We were not expecting it. It was absolutely devastating to the family. But my daughter still talks about Pappy Crowbar, usually weekly. She still looks at pictures and knows exactly, it's Pappy Crowbar. Pictures she's never seen before you could show her. She says, look, it's Pappy Crowbar. She remembers him, even if she don't quite remember him. She talks about him. She misses him. I miss him so much. That is our responsibility as their loved ones to keep their name alive, to keep their memory alive with the rest of the family, even those who weren't fortunate enough to grow up with them or know them. And if you do that, that is the healthy way of processing it, a healthy way of teaching it, and a healthy way of keeping that person as a part of your family forever. And they will, from time to time, visit you again when you do that. In a healthy way. They're not stuck here. Sometimes when you leave, you can come back freely. There's a difference between coming back and forth and being able to do so, or just being fucking stuck. There's a whole different ball game. We ain't getting into that tonight. But when you honor them properly, you start to get into the category of the powerful dead, the mighty dead. Because think of history figures in history. Think of, I don't know, let's use Socrates, for example. Socrates can still be worked with because Socrates' name is remembered by the entire planet, right? He died, and because we all talk about him, we teach him in class, we do all these things, he is still around. His essence is still here on a very grand scale compared to a regular family member, but he is still able to be worked with because he is kept alive. But think of the beggar and the bum down the street who ran away from home years ago. His family doesn't even remember him being alive. Maybe they've all passed. He passed. No one knew his name. No one ever took the time to even get to talk to him, make friends with him. He died lonely with nothing. That's the hungry dead. That's the forgotten dead. That's the ones that oftentimes can take a very dark turn and become very malicious and evil type of entities that are vampiric and will eat off of people because they're trapped here and they're disintegrating in the spiritual world. And because they're not remembered and given good sustenance to grow stronger, they thrive off of pain, misery, sorrow, and anything that they can get their fangs into to continue to thrive because they're trapped in a prison and being starved. So you'll eat the cockroaches that crawl across the floor. The opposite of that is honoring people who have, making sure they're never forgotten. Because there's some of you listening right now that have friends that have passed away. And what I'm saying, all of us have. But there's some of you that have honored them and still talk about them frequently. And there's some of them that, oh, yeah, I forgot about Jeff. Man, Jeff, he was my best friend 15 years ago. I haven't thought about him in 5-6 years. And I'm just making up a name at the moment. How fucking dare you? You forget them, they become forgotten.
Yes.
It is your responsibility to keep them alive, even after death.
One of the literal first things that I did when I was hanging things at the shop when I opened was put a picture that I had gotten after my grandmother passed when I was a teenager. A picture of her and I, me as like a toddler, right up front, smack behind the counter where everybody that came in that store was going to see it, because that was the first altar that I knew. That was the first altar that I played at. Those were the first books that I thumbed through. Now, did we end up on the same spiritual path? No, not exactly. But let me tell you, Yo is still very present and around. Yes, my mom just said it in the comments, but yeah, she still comes to visit. She is very close all the time. It's just like with entities, gods, goddesses, the energy, the words are power. You speak them, you give them energy, you give them life. You can breathe life back into things, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Beginning of the Bible,
Right,
when we look at God, he breathed his breath into the clay and we became
right,
alive. Adamu, he took mud and created Adam. He took
right,
mud and created Lilith. And when that didn't work, he took it from the rib of Adam, but it all came from the breath of
right.
God, so to speak. I am the Word. The Word walks amongst us. The Word is
Yeah,
flesh. And that is a part of everything, is you are breathing life into things, and you are breathing life into your ancestors, into your family members and friends, and you keep them alive. I implore you to please do that, and keep those folks alive, because it's important.
my
Some of them might
friend,
be long gone.
yeah,
I was going to say some of them might be already passed and got past the firmament and they're gone. Doesn't hurt to still honor them, because it's something that should be done anyway. But for the ones that may be still stuck here by choice or just stuck here, you are helping them. You're truly helping them. And if you love them, you should want to help them. You shouldn't want
yeah,
them to be out there suffering. Please help them.
yeah.
These fucking comments are driving me crazy. They're not coming through, and I have to check 4 different pages to try to see where the comments are coming in. Laura says, my condolences to you both. Thank you, Laura. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Dawn says, hey guys, oh my God, this is so me. And Dawn, I know it is, and I'm sorry you're going through such a hard time, and I can't begin to fathom right now. And we are here for you for anything that you need. But I will say, with everything that we spoke about tonight, you must continue to remember him, talk to him as if he is still there, because he is still here, and do what you can to face it properly and heal, as we all have to, because it will eat you alive. And some things are worse than death. Being alive or being an empty shell is one of them. You must do the work to heal yourself so that you can thrive again in your light and in his memory. Addie says, swallowing it is what led me to have really closed throat chakra. I don't think I'll ever forget that session with Tasha. I don't know why I said it that way.
Say it like that.
I have no idea. When I was reading it quickly, I just said Tasha. Still working on it, but my emotions have gotten so much more level sense. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier. Not facing it can cause repercussions. Blocked chakras, folks, do cause ailments in the body. Your auric
Yeah,
field becomes diseased. Your diseased auric field bleeds through to your manifest physical self. Your physical self throws sicknesses at you, usually associated with that chakra and what that chakra pertains. And that is a real thing. So that's a prime example of what we talked about earlier. It will cause actual physical ailments by not facing it. She also says that is similar to what I went through when my best friend died of cancer years ago. I didn't understand it at first, but I knew she wasn't gone and her work wasn't done. It hurts, but there has always been a peace with it. I'm also older than her, so it changed my view on life in general. Every moment is precious. Every moment is precious, folks. And that's one thing, and I think that we all need to take time with that. I don't care if you're going through a shit storm right now. As much as this is a prison and we talk about it, we need to escape it. I have to, a lot of times, I'm an anti-cosmic Satanist in certain aspects, but I have to also talk against anti-cosmic Satanists in certain respects,
yeah,
because, as we said, this might be a prison cell, but you can decorate it however you want. A lot of times, these anti-cosmic Satanists look at the barren walls and they hate themselves. They hate the walls. They hate the prison. They hate it all. And they become just miserable. On their quest to find freedom, they just suffer.
They trap themselves further.
They trap themselves. And the problem is, and maybe you do find a liberation somehow through all that nihilism and hate. But the problem is that you can decorate the walls of your prison cell and your bars and make it a beautiful show. And while you're still going to be trapped, you can have a hell of a fucking time and enjoy it and do the work and then escape it. Why? If you know that you can either be miserable and escape or be happy and escape, and at the end you're still going for the same goal, why the fuck would you choose to just be miserable? There's nothing honorable in that. There's not. So we have to take those perspectives and once again go by our place of pivot. And every moment's precious, and every day we should wake up, whether this is a prison cell or not, and say, whoever your gods are, whoever your spirits are, even to yourself if you have to, thank you for giving me another day to prove myself, another day to outdo myself, another day to learn something I didn't know, and another day to heal something that needed healing, another day to help those who need guidance. As we say in the beginning of every episode, we are the lighthouses of knowledge. No matter the darkness, our wisdom will shine, for we are the messengers and we are the crows. Every day is another opportunity to guide one of our brethren, one of our sisters to freedom, to help find themselves. So this might be hell, but I'm trying to use my time in hell to save as many people as I can while saving myself, while having a pretty good fucking time doing it. And hopefully you guys follow in those respects. Natasha, why don't you read off the next couple?
Where are you at? Oh, okay. My grandma passed, Casey. Hi, Case. Casey said, my grandma passed from Alzheimer's. A week before she passed, we were able to visit her. She wouldn't take her food from the nurses, but she would my son. He was 4. He's 16 now and still brings that up every once in a while. He didn't know her well, but I can't see the rest of it.
He didn't know.
But it is a memory he will never forget.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing, those memories are important. Sometimes those painful memories are still great memories because everyone processes and sees things different. So like while it might have been unbearable for you, Casey, your son, that was a memory that he remembers, and he can't understand it the same level you can. Children don't understand death the same as we do, right? So that moment, I remember, being a child and seeing my great-grandfather die. And my great-grandfather was a wonderful man. And my brothers were 8 years older than me, 7 and 8 years older than me. When I went to the funeral, I didn't cry. I went up and seen my pap. I was playing with like my Matchbox cars on the floor during the ceremony, and I didn't cry. My older brothers didn't understand why I wasn't crying and found it rude that I wasn't crying. And I remember them saying, you didn't even love Pap. You didn't even cry for him. Pretty much like, you're a little piece of shit. We're here devastated from Pap and you're not. But like, I looked at it like I still to this day, 32 years later, I still remember that day. I still remember my grandfather in the casket. I still remember knowing that my grandfather was gone. I couldn't process it the same, but I still remember it, and it's a memory that's with me forever. But they have a different memory. Everyone's going to have their own memory of it, and no one can take that from you. So while that was painful for you, it was still an amazing moment to be with them in their last moments. It was a very different experience for your son. Let's do this.
Stacy said, I still think of friends who I lost in middle school, who we hadn't made deep connections with, but their lost presence is still felt. And Stacy, like, honestly, I can relate very strongly to that. And I actually can relate very strongly to that because of what Trevor put up earlier. Matthew Graham, we came back from Christmas break, and I will never forget, and Trevor can correct me if I'm wrong on the memory, but I will never forget sitting in homeroom and them announcing to us that he passed, and he did take his own life. And we were in 7th grade. We're in 7th grade, and I hadn't really experienced death up until that point, and definitely not death of somebody like close to my age, like the same age as me. And that really, really just stuck with me, and his name has stuck with me, and I have remembered him ever since. So I think it's important, to remember all of them. Remember all of them.
And it's easy to, like you said, being so young, it's easy to say, why them? I had a friend, Lucas, when I was a child. He was 11 years old. He was at school. He's never had an issue prior to that. Stood up in the middle of class and started screaming and grabbed his head. He fell over dead at his desk. He had a brain aneurysm at 11 years old. Died in class. Never had any issues prior to that. Why would a healthy 11-year-old die instantly with no warning? How's that fair? It's not. But that's only when we assume that life should be fair.
Yeah.
Once again, that's programming. We see all around us that life isn't fair, but yet we live in a fairy tale that life should be fair. Well, woulda, shoulda, coulda, it's not. And we have to understand the grim reality of things, that there are going to be things beyond our control that happen, things we do not like, things that scar us, things that hurt us. But there's going to be things that are wonderful, things that are beautiful, things that help us, and things that heal us. There is an even flow. There is a balance. There's an equilibrium to everything. But if you keep yourself tilted to one side, you will only ever know one side. If you keep yourself tilted to the lesser, you'll only ever know the sludge and darkness of this world. If you keep yourself only to the happiness and the light, that could sound like it's a good thing, but then you're so far above reality that you're not even a part of it. You must keep an even kilter. You must find equilibrium. Now, I'm going to read one more comment, and then we're going to jump into the last portion of our show here. Nephrin Kane, a buddy of mine, said, fantastic topic and very important to talk about. On the other hand, I was unaware of your loss. My sincere condolences. Thank you, brother. Nephrin is big on the passion and respect for death worship and worshiping the current of death. And take worship for whatever you want to mean it as. It can just be the reverence for it, the worship for it, however you want to take it.
Working with.
And as his name, states, Nephrin Kane being the first wielder of death, and Felxifer work and that and of the such. Now, we are of the same vein in that regard, and why I wanted to bring this up, not only because they left a comment, I wanted to give them a shout out for that, but it brings me to a good point. We are coming up on June, folks, and that'll mark the 1-year anniversary of us doing the death meditations of the Coterie of Samil. Yeah. So for those that like tonight's topic, for those that thought it was helpful to talk about it, maybe you found key breadcrumbs that'll help you going forward. Maybe you'll make a conscious effort to try to heal yourself of past wounds and things of that nature. Maybe you want to partake in it. Maybe you already have and you want to do it again. Maybe you don't want to do it again. Maybe you never have and you would like to partake for the first time. Keep an eye out. We will be offering our death meditation. And this, how long did we do it for? How many days was it?
Days. It was weeks.
Weeks. I was going to say, I thought it was like 14 days. 14, 20.
No, it was like many weeks.
So we'll have to go back and look.
Weeks.
I don't remember. It was 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that, folks. We'll have to go back and look. We do a lot of stuff. But it's going to have you look at death differently from multiple angles.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have you look at things that haven't happened, that could, that have happened. Just a multitude of different facets of death as an energy, as an aspect of life. And a lot of people walked away saying, I looked at things a lot differently afterwards. Yeah. I've integrated it a lot differently, and I actually feel different and am different only after 2 or 3 weeks of just a simple series of exercises, which we will perfect and make even stronger this year. It has changed. It'll either be in June or July. May's kind of crazy, so will June. We're going to try to do it in June, but might end up being July. Somewhere around there, we will do a few-week process of the death reflections. So I wanted to make sure to do that out there for anybody that might be interested. Make sure you're following the Coterie of Samil Facebook page, and it'll be on there in due course.
I can't believe it's been a year.
It has been a year. I know, it's been quick. I found out during Christmas break, someone told my parents about it and let me know. It was a very somber Christmas break. I learned a couple very valuable lessons from that experience, to not betray your friends and to not judge or question someone's sexual preference. Yeah, man. I mean, unfortunately, people don't think about bullying or picking on people or anything like that. What kind of
Yeah.
toll it takes on them. I was always friends with everybody. I was friends with the jocks and the preps. I was friends with the misfits and the hoodlums. I was friends with the dorks and geeks. I was friends with the weirdos that no one talked to because they were just completely bizarre as fuck. Because I felt like they needed a friend. I like to be nice to everybody. And I thought that if they're going to start killing people, I'm the last one on their list because I've been cool as shit with them. So there was a lot of different meanings to why I was. But it was just that I felt that, hey, they need a friend. And hey, they're weird. You know what? Why are they being picked on for being so weird when I'm one of the most popular kids in school and I'm the biggest fucking weirdo in this place? I'm like, why are they getting picked on? So let's go be their buddy. I think that's important to do and to teach our children to do. My
Yeah.
song, Skippy Ickum, those who never seen it, Skippy Ickum, wow, uh, Saved
Saved
by
by
the
the
Bell.
Bell.
It is a song about the bully's perspective of being bullied in a school shooting, and it's horrific, and it's not to glorify it. It's to do the exact opposite, saying this is an epidemic and we need to talk to our children, those who are being picked on and those who are doing the picking on, and let them understand what this really does to people and the consequences, because one small moment of your life can change another person's life, and sometimes you can't get that back, whether that's embarrassing them in front of the rest of the school, bullying them because you felt peer pressured from your new friends that you had to be cool like they are. So you did something to some poor kid, and now that's going to live as a horror in that kid's mind forever, to them walking into school and doing something to the whole school that changes everyone and every family and every friend forever's lives. That simple moment of you fucking pushing a kid into the urinal or shoving his head into the toilet or shoving him into a locker or dumping something on him or pushing him, you might think's harmless, but it's not when there's 17 dead and all those families are in grief because of your little ass had to fucking be cool. It's not cool, man. It's not cool.
Yeah.
So let's finish up this last comment, and then you and I are going to talk a little bit about our boy Tom and give him a proper tribute. Stacy said, I was the same way in school, Frater. I was friends with everyone. That's how you should be. I think that's the only proper way. So I will start out, and then I want Natasha to jump in. I talked a lot tonight, guys. We always try to go back and forth. I know I am long-winded on a lot of things, but tonight I really jumped in. I'm in my bag. But I would like to talk about Tom. I met Tom 6 years ago, which is interesting because I thought it had been a decade, and then I went back and really looked, and it's been 6 years. And while 6 years goes by fast, it has seemed like a decade or more. And I mean that in the most kindness of ways. Not that it's been long and painful. No, it's been beautiful. And Tom and I have traveled to multiple states, to 12 to 15, roughly, I figured, of some of the most famous haunted locations in the country. And I attribute my team to Tom. If it wouldn't be for Tom, there wouldn't have been a Celestial Oddities Paraseekers. I don't care if other people like this next statement. If it wouldn't be for Tom, there wouldn't be a Bump in the Night Society. If it wouldn't be for Tom, there wouldn't be a Pittsburgh Paranormal Investigators. That was his original group that when I became friends with him, he was with them. And it was him and his brother and his sister-in-law and his son and some other people. So it was a family venture. But Tom was the backbone and heart of that. Him and his brother Earl both had that cowboy look, and both were very unique individuals. But Tom always stood out to me amongst everyone, and he made that group. And when I met him and we started talking, and I started telling him, "Hey, I have all these big plans of going and seeing all these famous locations and traveling to multiple states and making memories and doing all this wild shit," he was on board instantly. And I never met this man before this. I put out an open call. Who's interested in forming a real serious team, doing things to these standards? And I left a list, and he reached out. Sean from Bump in the Night Society reached out. And the three of us started talking, and then we started formulating, and then we started to make a team. But Tom, he had something special to him. He motivated me to want to really push this. He was willing to leave Pittsburgh Paranormal, his own group he had been with for 20 years, to be a part of my group. And that was humbling to me. I realized, wow, this man is willing to step aside from something so heartfelt and deep to him because he believes in my vision so much that If I wasn't already serious, which I am, I sure as fuck have to be now, because this man is willing to give it his all, and God damn it, I'm going to give it my all. So we jumped right in, off to the races. And right off the bat, we started going and exploring and hitting all kinds of heavy hitter locations. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Hillview Manor, Bel Air Demon House, Moundsville Prison. We were hitting a lot of places. We started having great captures of evidence, amazing moments, wild, unbelievable happenstances. We seen demonic possession. We seen demonic tongue happen. We've seen all kinds of things that have made documentaries and have become infamous in this region. That was with Tom. If it wouldn't have been for Tom, those teams wouldn't have converged at that time to be at Bel Air House. If it wouldn't have been for Tom, the kid that got possessed, which you could say is a bad thing, wouldn't have been there because he was associated with Tom. If it wouldn't have been for Tom, it wouldn't have eventually led, I believe, into a documentary, and it wouldn't, even though he wasn't the one that made the documentary, it wouldn't have led to that. We fail to see that sometimes a small drizzling of water can cause a mudslide, and that is what happened. It created a mudslide. And then the team split. I left the team. I felt like an asshole for doing so. I needed to step aside. There were some differences in the direction, and I felt that instead of trying to split it apart, I just needed to step down from my own team. And those guys continued on and made a new team, Bump in the Night Society, and Tom was with them, and he continued to go to investigations, locations, continued to be a strong element of that team. But I will tell you that Tom did feel a little bit betrayed by the fact that I just dropped out after he was willing to give up so much for this team, and then I walked away. But it was something that had to happen at that time. And hindsight's crazy, because when I look at it, I needed some time for me. I needed to go back out and do what I was doing, which is solo investigating. I came up off of investigating buildings by myself, and I did that again for a while, and I found myself again. And then I came back and said, God damn it, I'm ready for round 2 of Celestial Oddities. It's going to be bigger, better, faster, stronger. It's going to be a whole different fucking ball game now. And it has been. And as soon as I started it up again, you knew who was right there and ready to go? Tom. Didn't take any persuading. It's a simple apology from my end that he didn't ask for, I gave. And said, I'm sorry, brother, but this is why I needed it. And I am back to myself. We are going to go in the vision we wanted. They left and started their own group and going in their vision. No one's mad at each other. Everything is cool. Sometimes things have to break to be fixed, right? And that's what happened. And Tom was right there. I said, you ready to go, brother? I'm ready to go, brother. And we got it going again. And we started hitting locations again and making memories and great times. Brought Natasha in, brought in Ryan, brought in EJ, brought in Tara, brought in Ken and Sue. And we built this lovely, beautiful team that we have. And we have just had such amazing times. They all got to know, meet, and love this man that I knew and loved. And he made an impact on every one of them. So much so that our artwork had to feature him on both of our shirts. The paranormal cowboy, the wolf-haired asshole on the front. Because we always joked around him about him being the asshole. He called himself the team asshole. And he became this figure that people just recognized. Not only when he was out with our team, but when he went to conventions, whether with the team, whether just him and Dawn going out and doing other things, cryptid, Bigfoot, conventions, people just was drawn to him. They wanted to come to talk to this long wolf-haired cowboy. In the paranormal, this guy who had such a personality, was like a bug lamp. He just drew people in. He loved talking to people. He loved just mingling. And like I said, as much as he would joke about being an asshole, he was one of the most lovely people, a big teddy bear, kind-hearted soul. And I can't stress enough the impact that this man has made on my life, on my views of things, on our team, and for everything to come in the future, because our paranormal team, our paranormal research is so embedded into our personal lives and so embedded into then our occult practices for the ones that practice, like Natasha and myself, that is embedded into our personal lives, that is embedded to our research, that's embedded into our mind. All of that, no matter how you look at it, wouldn't be the same, never will be the same without this man. Tom, I love you, brother. I will miss you tremendously. I will never forget you. As I said tonight, you will never be forgotten, because every single investigation, as my solemn vow, I will bring something along that we are creating for you that symbolizes you. And we will have words and remembrance for you as a team, as a family, each and every place we go across this country, across this globe. You will be with us, not only in spirit, but in remembrance each and every time, so that you and I can complete the vision that we started out and set out together. We're still doing it, brother. It will not end. I'm sorry this happened, but you'll always be with me, my man. I love you. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
That was very well said. Now you got to give me a second, or my voice is going to break if I try to start talking. When did the team start? 22?
22.
Okay. So I would have met Tom in July. I think it was right around after my birthday, July of 2022. After the team had, Crow came to me and said, I'm putting this team back together. Like, you want to come do some paranormal stuff? And that had never really been something that I had done a lot of, at least on the investigation side. But I did remember a documentary that I had watched that had this guy in it with this cowboy hat. And the whole time I'm watching the documentary, I was like, man, I don't know what, this shit's wild. I don't know if I would want to do this. And I was like, I guess if I was gonna do it, I would go with Garrett and that guy in the cowboy hat. I want to meet him. That's what would get me to a paranormal investigation. If I can go with them. And so I was like, well, who's gonna be on the team? And of course, he said Tom right away, and I was like, yes, I get to meet the cowboy hat guy. And I was so excited for that. And then we had our first investigation as the team at Ross House, and I was like, does this man like me? I'm not 100% sure if he likes me. And he did in fact like me, but he was just Tom. And the adventures that we've gotten to go on over the past couple years, and getting to know him as a person, there's not a lot of people that I think I know anymore that I would say their heart is pure, their heart is just good. And Tom is one of those people. He had the biggest heart and was always concerned about, his friends, if his friends were okay, if he was taking care of his family. And I think that after I heard what happened, all I could think about was two things, and they both had to do with when we were in New York. And one of them was Tom and Garrett riding along, looking out at every single body of water that we passed. And Garrett would be like, I'd fish the shit out of that. And Tom would be like, I'd fish the shit out of that. If I had to hear it one more time, I was going to jump out of the car. But that was the first thing I immediately could just see Tom's peripheral and hear him saying that. And the other thing was when we were on those investigations, I was trying to quit smoking or hadn't stopped for cigarettes or something. Tom had it covered. He had a tin. The tin had to be the size of my head.
He did have a tin.
Yeah. And he was like, it's okay. I got you. And so every time that he would go out, to smoke, he wouldn't even he wouldn't even ask me every time, and he wouldn't like make me ask him. But every time he went to get a cigarette, he would set a cigarette down somewhere, wherever we were, just like, that's yours if you want to join me. And I know that's such a silly like example, but that's the kind of person that he was.
I think
I
that's a
can't
huge
tell you.
example. I think that's
Yeah,
huge. Another reason I'm jumping in real quick is I think that's huge because he did that with everything. He would walk
yeah,
into the gas station and come out with drinks for everyone. These are for all you. And he would just hand us a drink or hand us a bag of chips. And you're like, what's this? He's like, figured you wanted it or needed it or just in case. And there isn't too many people. I'm not saying people don't do that, but there isn't too many people that every time they go in, they come out and give you something because they were thinking about you when they bought it. Or like you, every time you went outside, he just automatically gave you a cigarette. He always would make sure to walk up behind members for times and just put his arm around them and just say,
hmm
"You doing okay?" And you're like, "I'm doing good."
yeah,
He's like, "All right, good." I mean, like you said, behind that asshole exterior, like I said, which we joked about, there are very, very few people in life that are truly pure. I mean, as pure as him, and that's saying something.
yeah. I
Continue.
can't. I remember I don't remember where we were or what we were doing, but it was something about like I was like, what am I supposed to do if like this happens? Something attacks me over here or whatever. He's like, I got you. I will like carry you like out of here. Like you're good. I'm like, Tom, are you gonna fucking carry me out of here on that leg? Nope, I got you. Cause I would, or like, he always, that was just it. Like he always like had you. Um,
He did.
I am so incredibly grateful for the time that I got to spend with him. I'm incredibly grateful for Dawn and the time that I got to spend with both of them. I'm incredibly grateful for the time and impact that he's had. Yeah, crying's healthy, but like it's not the time right now. I'm incredibly grateful for the impact that he's had on my daughter and the memory that she has of him. Um, her not coming to say goodbye to him was not an option. She's like at 0 amounts of school that she can miss right now and graduates in like a week. And she was like, I will be there. Like I will not be in school. I will be going to the spewing. So that's the kind of person that Tom is and the kind of effect that he has on people, had on people. And Tom, if you're listening, buddy, I really do feel like you would be making fun of us right now and joking and like laughing and giving us a hard time, or like making fun of me for crying or being upset nicely. But I hope that you see the impact that you've had on the lives that you've touched, and you will be very missed. And you better come say hi, because if you were on a paranormal team with a group of people and you don't come say hi, I feel like that's just rude. Like, don't be rude, buddy. We'll miss you, and we love you.
I'm sure he will make a visit at some point. I can see it.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe him and Steve can kick it a little bit, and maybe he can tell us a little bit more about who Steve actually is.
Yeah, maybe he can finally crack the case of Steve.
Of Steve. So yeah, it's heartbreaking, like we said, folks. But we hope that this episode, as unplanned as it was, made a mark on you. There was a lot of comments, a lot of us sharing similar experiences, a lot of us putting out painful memories. But I think that beyond just teaching diabolism, beyond teaching magic and occultism, the family, the vibe, the community is what's very important. Where we can have this safe place that we can all come together and say what hurts us, what ails us, and we can understand with one another and be a part of that with one another. So what I would tell you guys is hold your loved ones close. Like we said, things can change in the blink of an eye. Love them. Tell them you love them. Remember those that have passed. Do little ceremonies from time to time. Talk to them out loud. It does not hurt to light a candle and sit, meditate, and talk to those that you miss. Because sometimes it won't come in the form of seeing them, hearing them, feeling them. Sometimes it'll come in the form of thoughts or ideas or visions that just pop into your head. And you're like, what the heck was, what was that? Or yeah, something strange. You're like, what is this? Yeah, I don't remember ever even seeing this in this room before. There's a lot of things that'll happen that are obscure, that are our loved ones talking back. But a lot of times, if you don't make the work and connection to talk to them, they're not going to do the work to talk back, because it takes a lot more energy from them than it does from us.
Yeah.
So hold your loved ones, talk with them. If you like what you heard tonight, want to explore that further, check out our death practice and meditations coming up in the next month or two. And one last comment just came in. My boy Jim said, joined at the right time. For me, these past 5 minutes were gold. Stacy says, as people die, what they see has always interested me, from my grandmother telling her husband who had passed he wasn't ready to my great aunt saying she saw a man pointing her to her name in a book in her hospital room. I have always associated to see what you need for peace. I'm sorry, that was a little hard to read. I think I might have read it wrong, or it might have just been typed a little funky. But yeah, I mean, what people see upon death is interesting. It goes to where they are in life and what they've experienced. So I think that's all we have to say tonight. It's been an emotional couple of days. Tomorrow we have the viewing. Tomorrow we have a very large working to do in Tom's honor. And then we have a long weekend of other rituals for the cult. So we're going to, with that, sign off. We want to thank you all for your participation, your love, your support. And we will catch you in 2 weeks on the Coterie of Samil broadcast of Cuniculum Obscuritatis. This is Frater and Natasha,
signing out. Natasha, Michelle, you guys have a great night.